Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, as always, Tyler Jorgensen, and I have the pleasure of having someone come all the way from the other side of the world through the joys of technology today. Greg Merrilees is joining us. He's the founder and director of Studio One Design, and we're going to be talking about, not only we're going to be talking about the importance of conversion, the importance of having conversion intent in your website, but we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about life. We're going to talk about why he's so darn good looking. All of these things. He's told us that he's going to reveal to us his supplement regime. So we've got everything on the table today. Welcome out to the show, Greg. We're really happy to have you.
You are hilarious. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it's awesome to be here. And I remember when we met at the Go High Level dinner, and I was at the bar, and it was free drinks as long as you had your ticket with entry, right? And I lost my ticket, and you go, "Here, dude, have mine." I was like, "Whoa, this guy's awesome." And then we hit it off from that point. You were hilarious.
Well, I appreciate that. I think part of life and business is learning to let your personality shine in business. And so that's something I'm working on. But networking and hanging out, that's the best part. That's the parts I love the most. Greg, let's zoom way back, right?
Yeah.
When was the moment you first realized that you were an entrepreneur?
Wow. I've actually had this business since the year 2000, so 24 years, right? But I did not know I was an entrepreneur until I reckon 10 years ago, right? Wow. That's because 10 years ago, the shit hit the fan because we didn't design websites when I started the business. We designed T-shirts, point of sale, and consumer graphics. Yeah, all sorts of things other than websites, right? And so then 10 years ago, the clothing industry, which we predominantly worked for, went vertical. I mean, all the retailers squeezed out the wholesalers. Our clients were the wholesalers. So That's when I had to find out, okay, what do I do next? Because our clients were dropping like flies. And all of a sudden, we had an office full of 6 people, had a young family at home, and we had a mortgage, just bought a new house, all these things. And it was like, okay, I need to really get serious about what is being an entrepreneur. It's about solving problems. And so I went online and I actually found podcasts and I started listening to podcasts. One of the podcasts I listened to, the 2 hosts, one was Ezra Firestone from Smart Marketer in New York. Yep. The other one was James Schramko, from jamesschramko.com. They're both business coaches, right? Ezra is in e-commerce, James is in just general online businesses. And they said to me, they said on their podcast that their logo sucked. So I just saw that as an opportunity to design them a free new logo just to say thanks for their awesome content. And I was learning so much from them, about marketing and online. And that was my sort of way into I didn't realize at the time. I just wanted to design them a cool logo. Ezra, based in New York, just said, hot dang, it makes us look like a fancy softball team, right? And so from that point, just built that relationship and just started, had calls with Ezra, and he started his agency at the time was, 10 years ago. Now he's got a, $100 million business. But at the time, he had a little agency and he just asked us to do more designs for him and then for his clients, and he white labeled us for all of his clients. So that's how we got introduced to,
Very cool.
Website design and online conversions, etc.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So I think that's amazing. You started this. Were you a designer by trade? Is that like, are you okay, cool. So you're a designer, kind of did the whole thing where you're kind of the traditional, I'm a designer, I'm going to start designing, accidental business, right? So you move from like solopreneur to having a small team. I want to unpack the idea of apparel going vertical for the audience here. So is this like when Target bought Massimo and things like that, where all of a sudden they're collapsing and buying out brands?
No, what it meant was Target, for instance, would go directly to China to get their own manufacturing done. So they didn't need the wholesaler to rely on to deliver the manufacturing. So that means they've gone vertical, as in they got retail, they got wholesale, they do everything under one roof.
They were sourcing their own products at that point.
Yes.
And so,
exactly.
Okay. So and I mean, the links of the chain got shortened and you got cut right out of it.
Squeezed out. Yeah. And so we went direct. we went directly to the retailers, but they wanted to pay in 90 days and then pay 5% less if they paid within 90 days. So cash flow
Yep.
was just not working.
Yeah. 5% net 90 is rough, and people don't realize it. A lot of companies that get into that finally win those big contracts with Walmart and stuff end up going out of business because
Yeah,
of that.
cash flow.
One, the cash flow pay is really rough. They're usually two, not used to that size of contract. And then a lot of those big retailers put in clauses that if they don't sell, that the manufacturer has to buy back a percentage. So it
Yeah,
wipes a lot of companies out. So in this
totally.
shifting, you come in and you're like, I'm just going to do things differently. And I love that you reached out and just started doing work for free. Something a lot of people, today are teaching, like Alex Hormozy and people like that.
Yes.
They say, hey, go and just serve, just give value for free. Don't
Yeah.
ask yet.
Yep.
Do you so you started by doing logos. How did the shift happen from logos to web development, to websites?
Just because Ezra said, "What else can you design for us?"
Okay.
And at the time, he was trying to start Smart Marketer as an agency where he offered websites for his clients in the e-commerce space, and so he just kept sending us briefs, and we kept nailing it, and he was wrapped
Awesome.
with our design skills, and so from that point, I mean, we learned so much as well from Ezra. He's just a guru at e-commerce. So we still use a lot of strategies that he taught us back in the day that he still uses himself.
Yeah, no, he teaches some really solid stuff. And so
Yeah.
you started expanding, but I think you and I can both agree that oftentimes art and design is contrary to conversion. Sometimes people design something because they're designing it to appease the CEO, right? The CEO or the whoever pays the bill will think this is pretty. That doesn't mean that's what's going to convert. How do
Yeah.
you bridge that gap?
I love that question because, see, we are not a traditional website designer. So we've always come from conversion first, right? But if you go to any sort of website design community, they're all about the parallax effects and animations and all these latest design trends. And I get it. It's because it's cool, it looks great, but they actually are proven to kill conversions because they're so distracting, right?
Yeah.
So we've always been conversion focused. And yes, we do want it to appeal to the customer, but more importantly, we want it to appeal to our clients' customers, right?
Yes.
Because when they land on the site, they want to know, they don't give a shit about you initially. They just care about what's in it for them. So they want to know, okay, what do you offer? How will I benefit from your offer? And can you prove that you're the trusted authority for me to trust you? So they look at others like social proof and how long, have you been doing this for, et cetera. Yeah.
And so I know you're going to end up giving out a pretty cool resource to people. Let's go ahead and let the cat out of the bag and spill that. So you were telling me that there's a certain number of things that people need to look for to know that their site is optimized for conversions. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So we have put together a little self-audit quiz for your audience at studio1design.com/Tyler, right? And if they go there, they'll see 50 questions across 5 vital areas of their website where we ask them, do you have this on your website? Yes or no? And it's a whole range of things that are to do with, it might be specific pages on the website, to your shopping cart if you have one, to, the analytics and user data that you collect on the site, to your marketing funnels and things like that, right? So it's not a little bit about look and feel, but it's about everything else that goes with it, from strategy, you name it. And so most people probably get around 15 to 20 out of 50. We've got 50 questions. And so it just means they can self-audit and see where the opportunity is missing so that they can boost their conversions, basically.
That's awesome. So as you've been doing this, you made this shift. You said, you started in 2000. Was it around 2010 where that big shift happened? Is that right?
Yeah,
Was
a
that
little
the right
bit later.
timeline?
Yeah.
Okay, a little later than that.
2012, 2013. Yeah.
Okay, so you made it through like the Great Recession, but it was after that where all of a sudden the businesses started saying, we don't want to go through that again. We're going to make some major changes. So what was when you started making that change, when you started shifting into doing business design and conversion focused website design, what was one of the first big mistakes that you made and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, definitely made a lot of mistakes. And I'll tell you why. It's because I didn't have any clue at all about business. The way I got into business was because I worked for one guy for 10 years and he died, right? Just had an aneurysm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was devastating for his family and for me as well. He was like a good mentor.
Yeah.
And so two of his clients said to me, come and work for me full time. I couldn't decide who to work for. So I took a month off. And then I said, well, what if I start my own business? Will you give me work? They said yes. The other one said yes. So that's how I started my business. So I really had work from the start. And we had a pretty good reputation in the clothing industry. And we found other mentors, like there was a screen printer that served all of these clothing industry clients that just spread our name to all of his other clients. And so
Very
got
cool.
really lucky, it was just good timing. So the point of saying this is I had no clue about business, right? I just kind of fumbled my way into it, got quite lucky. But then the biggest challenge was trying to grow a team, right? So
big time.
I employed a friend, right? And I feel like that was one of the biggest mistakes. And also just employing people, not knowing, like not vetting them enough and just employing people that, they're a good designer. But really, like design, it's a hard skill set to do really well. But
Sure.
more importantly is your attitude towards people, and
Right.
I found so just employing people without thinking through, like, are they a good fit for our team and our culture? And that sort of bit me in the ass.
Yeah, I can imagine if you started as a employee and you kind of got thrust into the leadership role of owning and managing a team. And so hiring a friend, without properly vetting, hiring other team members without properly vetting, what, it sounds like you've learned a lot from that. What advice do you have from someone who might just be starting an agency or growing their business on how to do a better job there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, now what I've learned, and I did have another lesson recently, like about a year and a half ago, to do with team as well. And I think this is where the biggest lesson comes in. So it's all about creating a culture and starting with your mission and your core values, right? And then you've got to have that first before you start thinking about hiring if you're starting out. But even if you are an established business, you can reinvent yourself around your mission and your core values. And so what happened to us about a year and a half ago was our design manager at the time, he was looking at leaving and starting his own business, which he's now done. But in that transition of him wanting to leave, he's just started going against management in our business. We've got 27 people on our team now. There's about 12 in the design team, 10 in the dev team, and management, customer support, etc. But anyway, so what he did was he started bad mouthing the management team, and we were hiring new designers at the time, and they would last for like 2 weeks. It's like, oh, what's going on here? We couldn't work it out. And so then, in Slack, right? We use Slack, and if you close and he had a private channel for their language, Tagalog, which is fine in the Philippines. But if you close a Slack channel, all of a sudden it becomes searchable. Right? It's not searchable if it's, I didn't know this,
public.
right?
Yeah, me
so
neither.
then we were searching for a project my general manager was, and she realized, oh, there's this Tagalog thread, and she saw her name in there a couple of times. So she translated it to English and saw all this bad mouthing. And then we figured out, okay, what's going on here? But you know what? It's my fault because up until that point, I hadn't put much effort into the team culture. Right. And so from that point, this was, early last year, 2023. And so what we did was just completely rebuilt the culture around our mission and, our values. And we had a team retreat in the Philippines. We hired, a big villa and had the whole team come and stay with us. And we had lots of fun and karaoke and water sports and lots of meals together. And it was just really good for bonding. And I feel like that was the biggest lesson: invest in culture.
Well, and I can appreciate that you took the feedback and you actually said, okay, this is what people are saying, like which parts of this are true, which parts of this are emotional, and how can we make it better? And I think being a leader doesn't mean, or being a great manager doesn't mean that you're not making mistakes. It means that you're improving when they happen. And so that's a really good example. And let's pivot back just for a little bit on advice to the listeners and people watching the show here on design. Right. So what are like 5 tips that you have for people to just have really high power converting design?
Yeah, sure. So look, number one is like do a little bit of research before you start designing, right? I mean, before you are ready for a new website. And so what it means is like really taking the time to understand your audience. And this is, if you do hire a designer, this is what they should be doing as well, right? Because like I said, they don't really care about you initially. So basically you want to survey your audience to find out what, makes them tick on a deeper level, essentially. And so once you've got that intel, where they hang out, etc., then all of a sudden you realize that your website should be designed to help them on their journey, right? So that's
Right.
number one. And 5 tips. Brand positioning would be another tip. So what it means is like study your competitors and don't rip off your competitors, right? A, you don't know how well they're going, and B,
Yep.
you want to be memorable. Yeah. So you want to zig where they're zagging. So you really want to be unique and, be unique in your marketplace and stand out from your competitors. And then also thinking about your price point with brand positioning. So what price point are you at? Is it the lower end, the middle end, the top end? And then your design, look and feel, your messaging, everything needs to reflect that value proposition, basically. So yeah, I think brand position is super important. And then think about the marketing strategy. So, you touched on it before. You want to lead with value. That's what I say. Lead with value, right? And if you think about, obviously, if you're starting your relationships with someone, you just want to build trust with them. And the best way is to offer something that's going to help them on their journey for free so that it builds trust in your brand. So it's really having a strategy and potentially a funnel to warm up that cold traffic. Now, if you also have warm traffic, you want to make sure you don't take them through a funnel that is designed for cold traffic. So you need to have a traffic cold and a traffic for warmer or hot leads, essentially. And then really just make sure it's clear that you have these different options for solving, like that takes them down a different pathway to solve their problem, essentially. Number 4 would be to psychologically influence. And we get these tips and tricks from Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, which are, 7 psychological drivers to help build trust in your brand. That's one thing we definitely take a lot of a lot of value from, and we implement those psychological drivers into your website because once again, and those things are things like reciprocity, which is leading with value. Authority, you want to showcase your authority in the marketplace. And that could be from sharing your knowledge and just having a professional design and professional copy and video and photos and all that good stuff. But social proof as well. People turn to others to see how good your stuff really is. Liking as well. You want to be likable. And then consistency, consistent voice, consistent look and feel. And here's a big one that a lot of people get wrong: scarcity. So it's not just like a limited time offer, right? What Robert Cialdini really means with that scarcity principle is what can they get from you that they can get nowhere else, right? So with your messaging and your offer, put whatever's unique about your offer in there. Don't just try like everybody else have the same word in. Otherwise, you just become a commodity. So think about what can they only get from you and nowhere else. And then the last principle is unity. And that's because, if you like the same, like LA Lakers or whatever, right? You really want to just show your personality and people, whatever that is, whether it's religion or sports or, something in business, you just want people to feel like they're in the same place, safe place, basically. So that's number 4. And then number 5 would be like just having a conversion focused design. So it's really taking all those first 4 points into consideration before you start designing the website. And then you want to put everything into the right visual hierarchy. So it's not overwhelming. It's got the right things in the right order to essentially boost the conversions. And that conversions could mean, an opt-in or a sale, essentially. And then the branding elements as well need to appeal to your target audience. And you also want to make sure you use professional copywriting. I know you can use ChatGPT and other AI tools, but Perplexity is a really good one. But you really want to make sure that it does talk to your audience and proves that you can solve their problem in a unique way. So use that as a starting point, but I think it's better to use a professional copywriter to do it properly. So they're kind of
bringing up copy was my next thing, right? The next thing I was going to ask you. So in order of operations, right? Designing a site, building or launching a new offer, or things like that.
Yep.
There is one school of thought that says you start with the copy and then you design around the sales copy. Then there's another camp that says, I'm just going to make a template and I'm going to fit my copy. I'm just going to fit it into this template. And then
Yeah.
there's the other school of thought that doesn't think about it at all, and they're just throwing stuff together. What
Yeah.
what's your take on copy and design and
Yeah.
how they flow together?
If you had the choice, copy or design, I would go with copy every day of the week, because it's seriously what it will help convert a lot easier than design, because design has no clarity. If copy is done really well, then it's going to have clarity. It's going to be persuasive, and you can have no design. It could still work, especially if you've got a good reputation. You just send people an email and it'll convert, right? So copy is more important. But the way we work is we work in conjunction with, conversion focused copywriters, and we do understand their framework. So we also understand that copy can take a bit of time because they have to do a lot of market research before they get started. So we offer unlimited design revisions, and we get started with a framework that we know our copywriters are going to use. And so we'll just rough in the design. We'll do a proper design, but we'll rough it in with rough copy that we'll just use from our design questionnaire and the initial call transcript that we have with the client, just to rough it in to say this is roughly what we're doing, but just understand you can either hire our conversion focused copywriting partners, or you can do your own copy. But so we get started without the copy, but we understand the copy is really going to be the game changer. It needs to be good.
And so you start with design, then you overlay the copy. But what I'm hearing is, because you'll do unlimited revisions, if the copy leans you to doing a redesign or restructuring the design,
we'll do it.
You're going to prioritize that. Okay, that makes sense. That's a clever way to do it.
Totally, yeah.
I like that.
But then we've been doing a lot of websites. We understand what converts, and if clients give us really crappy copy, we're going to push back and let them know, hey, this is not going to work, and here's why.
Right. Now, a business offering unlimited anything is interesting, because I'm assuming that you're not offering or receiving unlimited pay, right? You're being compensated in a finite amount, but offering unlimited. How do you balance making sure that doesn't get out of hand?
Yeah, so you just got to do the maths and figure out, right, okay, how much do you charge for a project? We charge up front, and we know on average that's what's going to be profitable. Now, some clients might take a little bit longer to get to that final result, and that's fine. But if you average it over, X amount of many clients per month, then it's the numbers work, basically. So we found it's just a really good way it's a good hook for getting people, to trust us, because, we're obviously conversion focused, but we want them to love it, and design is subjective. So, we want to make sure they're comfortable with moving forward, and offering that unlimited revision is one of the main reasons people choose us. Yeah.
I've built a lot of websites, a lot of sales funnels over the years. I do my best to stay platform agnostic, because platforms change, but but concepts don't, right? Like the concept of conversion and the concept of a sales page, that's all pretty solid. What's your platform of choice, and what do you guys work in over there?
Yeah, so look, we've been using WordPress forever, and if it's e-commerce, we prefer Shopify. However, we love Webflow now. I don't know if you're familiar with. Oh my gosh, it's like the Mac of, compared to PCs, in my opinion. WordPress, Squarespace, Wix. I know Wix Studio is meant to be pretty good, but they're more, I don't know, they're just more for people that aren't serious designers. And Webflow is, if you have a look at the design community, everybody's using Webflow. But
I feel like Webflow is very design focused. I mean, the things you can do in there are much, much more generous to designers. My only concern with it has been that it makes it to where it's harder for the website owner to manage, right? Like, because it's not as user. I'm only, in my experience, right? I'm not, which is limited to a few clients that move to Webflow. They found themselves overwhelmed by the adjustments, right? Then
got it. I mean, to start, it is harder to create a website, right? Compared to, say, a page builder or a Wix or whatever, right? However, once
it's not WYSIWYG, so.
Yeah, exactly. But once you hand the website over to the client, it's easy for them to make tweaks and changes and add new pages and things like that. But to start from scratch is probably harder. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's zoom back to the fact that you had this accidental agency and you had to go through a massive pivot, and now you've grown it to a 27-person team that you've worked with some really cool clients and done some amazing designs. In that light, imagine that you're talking to somebody who's just making that first move from working for someone else to going out and working for themselves.
Yeah.
What's your advice to them to go get their first 2 or 3 clients?
First 2 or 3 clients. Yeah, look, go at a low price. I mean, you can't, you want to build up to a high price, but I would say, honestly, it's hard. You got to build your reputation first. And that's what I'd be focusing on. You'll find that most of your sales will come through referrals. So if you're a really good designer, you need to be a good designer for a start. But yeah, I would look for a point of difference in the marketplace from what everybody else is doing, and try not to focus on all the fancy parallax and animation effects, and have a point of difference in the marketplace, and try and niche down initially. We design for pretty much, a lot of different niches, but when you want to start out, if you niche and you've got a point of difference, that's probably a better way to go and get, target a few specific clients, but do it at a lower price point initially. That's what I would say.
That makes sense. All right, Greg, to me, business is a wonderful thing. I love it. It's like my hobby, but it's not everything in life. So what is one item on your personal bucket list you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Yeah, so I'm a snow skier, have been since I was 4 apparently, and absolutely love it. And yeah, last year we went to Canada. So every year we want to go to a different country overseas, because obviously we're in the southern hemisphere.
Not a lot of skiing in Melbourne, or?
Well, we do have anthills. They're tiny, basically. I mean, look, our ski season is very short, and we're very lucky if it gets more than a meter of snow. What's that, like 3 feet or whatever?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get to 6 feet, but it's very unlikely. And so, every summer for us, which is, winter for you guys in January, last year we went to Canada, which I absolutely love. But yeah, this coming January, we're going to Japan. So every year we want to go to a different country in the northern hemisphere for skiing.
What's your favorite place you've ever been skiing?
I reckon Big White in Canada. We've been there twice now, and oh my God, it's just so beautiful. Like, the lift lines are tiny compared to what you guys experience in America. The snow's really dry. It's not near a coast, so it's not wet snow. It's just really good powder, but it's not like Japanese powder where it's good for snowboarders, where it's too fluffy. Right. But it's not too deep. It's just a good amount of deepness, and they have fresh snow every night, basically. I love it there. Yeah, and good long runs. You can spend 20, 30 minutes on one run. Yeah.
Nice. One ski resort you never want to go back to?
I reckon Whistler.
Overrated. Too busy. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you speak to the locals, they're done by 10 a.m. because it's just the crowds are too much. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, I really appreciate it. Everyone should please go check out Studio One Design. That's the numeral 1 in studio1design.com. Greg, what is one thing that you wish everyone knew about you as an individual that you can share with them before we sign off?
I have no idea.
I thought you were going to share with us your whole supplement routine. All right, fine. Not that. What's just tell? How about sign us off with? You love racing cars, is that what you said?
Yeah, I don't have a racing car, but I do love racing my car around a track. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Brand is?
It's a Mercedes AMG thing that's,
a huge AMG fan. Big AMG fan. Cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So now I got to know the car. What's the car?
It's a CLA 45. But it's
solid.
Very, very quick one. Yeah.
It's the big V. Is that the V8, not the V10, right?
It's actually not. It's actually a 4-cylinder, but if you look at it's the world's fastest 4-cylinder production car.
It's got to be fun.
And if you look at any reviews, like, people just love this thing. It's such a beast. It's like 10 and a half seconds over a quarter mile, or 0 to 60, you guys would say, in 3.7 seconds. So it's pretty good.
That's pretty quick. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have fun doing that, but stay safe. It was really great having you on the show. I'd love for you to stay around. I'm going to hit end and we're going to wrap up the show, but I got one other question for you. Yeah. So to all my biz ninjas, wherever you're watching, you're listening, wherever you're tuning in from, just remember, it's your turn to go out and do something